kick out all these people even if they're doing a really fucking good job and making them tons of money. I'd like to know, what is your hypothesis and what actually led to that, or is it just short-sightedness? Is that just it?
It's pretty, a lot of shorts. They want short-term profits, and just getting rid of whole studios is really easy to bump your profits up.
And so, like, do they just not have a plan for down the road when it's like, hey, we could use some really cool people to make awesome games that make us more money?
They're not thinking about that. They just want their shareholders to be happy.
The fucking building a house on a deck of cards, I
I
swear to
feel like
God.
I'm not saying anything new, but
No.
Xbox is soulless.
Yeah,
They
it's
don't
like,
actually care about
yeah,
gaming. They do not care about the medium or the creativity behind it. They just want money.
yeah. I mean, they are a tech company primarily, Microsoft. I mean, so I mean, even from that perspective, that you would think they'd have more fucking incentive. Oh, jeez.
Yeah, it's like it's sad when like what you've done as a company, Xbox, is like, oh, everybody now brings up, oh, Nintendo, because Nintendo has a really good like outlook on gaming and outlook on like how to keep up with everything they're doing. Because I think even in like the past couple of years, one of their shareholders meetings, the president of Nintendo was just like, oh yeah, no, we're not gonna like fire a bunch of people just to make up some more profits. We're gonna look for better talent. We're gonna look for new ideas to make new, better games that sell better. Also, in the years the Switch has been out, they've made more profit than they've ever made in their history. That was a new headline recently.
Like all of it combined?
Yes.
Oh my God. Jesus Christ.
Nintendo's fucking getting the money right now. It's great.
Like,
I love
God,
Nintendo. They're shit at a lot of things. They're not great, but I love them.
do
They're
they
putting
still
out Paper
have?
Mario again. I'm happy.
I want to check in with the one person who I would trust most to have an answer to this question. Are they still like shitty about content creation with their games, like in terms of,
Yes. They're
all right.
they're pretty bad. It's not great. Like if you're making videos or whatever, they're not as bad anymore. But
Oh,
like
okay.
if you're making fan games or anything of the sort, they're still they're not great. If you're like putting on like an event like a Smash Brothers tournament, they're still very shitty about it. They're not the best company to ever exist.
Yeah.
However, in light of Xbox, they're also not the worst. You know?
You know,
Matilio has joined the
come see,
space.
come sa. In terms of the fan game angle specifically, not that I agree with, being tight and shitty about, about people making stuff off of your games without, having explicit profit in it. Like, like,
L.
but I
Azalea
can
has
see
joined
it
the
a little bit
space.
more, at least, than like when it was like, oh, don't even make videos on these games. Do not market our game for us. Like, because a fan game, I feel like is a different can of worms. Though I do think those should get to happen, of course.
Yeah. Nintendo
Hmm.
needs to stop being such a bitch about things, but look, they're not the ones buying
Baboon
up
has
studios
joined the
just to close them,
space.
so can't get on them too hard.
What
They actually
have
seem
you
to
known of?
genuinely invest in the medium. So,
Have you known of any? Have you known of any like fan games of Nintendo properties that like have lasted particularly long? Or I guess we shouldn't really name them on here, just in case
I
any
mean, a
possible
lot
chance of.
last
Yeah.
until there's something that like it would be considered competition. Like there was the another Metroid 2 remake fan game that existed for a very long time until Nintendo made their own Metroid 2 remake and then they took it down, which is like, okay, I can see the logic there at least. That kind of makes some sense. You're like, oh, I don't want, maybe a better version. People are going to go get that for free instead of buying our game.
Yeah.
Still shitty, but at least there's logic there. And it's like they don't touch
Yeah.
the Metroid 3 fan translation or anything like that because they're not doing anything with that game.
Oh, okay. So if it's like if they don't have plans for something and it's not making a fuck ton of money that Nintendo instead could be making, then they don't tend to touch it. Is that what it is?
Most of the time.
Okay. So then there is a logic to it. There's a rhyme and reason and
Yeah.
business trade. Because
I
with a lot of
mean,
these, it just
absolutely. For a few years there, they were hard ass about everything. They were so bad
mhm,
between like 2013 to like 2016. They were so bad, but I think they've gotten a lot better.
got related to this. I remember finding out that I mean it didn't surprise me. I just didn't know about it until I heard about the response to it. But of course, with Pal World, with the Pokemon Company, and how everybody was expecting Pal World to be taken down by them, like to be like sued to high hell, and a lot of people were trying to make the point, of course, of, oh, if they haven't taken legal action, these people who are absolutely, ruthless in the force of the law, if they haven't taken action, rest assured there is no action to take. And so, so
Yeah.
you don't need to come to us about it. And they made like an official statement about it, like, "Hey, we know, shut the fuck up," but in professional language, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. They would have no case for Power World, so it's very good they didn't try.
I'm
But
curious, why do you say no
yeah,
case? Because like I don't intimately know Pokemon, but it does feel like some of those characters were like very fucking close to Pokemon ones.
parody law is very protected in the United States, and that's where they would be suing. It
Ah, I
would be
see.
much more trouble than it's worth. Especially for a game that, what is it, 3 months later, no one's really fucking talking about anymore.
Right. It's a- it's like it kind of feel with the parody laws. It kind of feels like that sand ring around the SpongeBob and Patrick like a survival thing with the fish bear coming up to that that meme. You know.
Yeah, because like the designs are very similar, but they're not the same. Like, so there's that level. It would just be more trouble than it's really worth.
I would really love. I don't think they should do this, but I would really love if the designs were similar but not the same. But like, if you go to a certain point in the game, it does legitimately just show you Pikachu, just unabashedly and just out in the
I would
open,
love
just
that.
as a. That'd be really
Needs to
fucking fun.
be there.
Or would it be better if it was Pikachu, or if it was like some obscure Pokemon that is just to the letter the Pokemon?
I want it to be Ash Ketchum,
A
and you could just shoot him.
Oh, I okay. You were thinking as an NPC. I was thinking if something unlocked him as a playable character, and then like they just have to sit in that. Though I think that'd put them in much more hot water.
No, I think it would just be so much more funny if Ash just came out of nowhere. Just
Yeah,
showed up.
I just and immediately. Oh my god! And if like he was struck by lightning, so even if you didn't want to kill him, he just like lasts for a second. Yeah, he's a Star Trek red shirt all over again. I I have a question though about when these companies get acquired and liquidated in the gaming industry, as far as you know, um, do the employees of any of these, like the developers and all that, tend to come together and like make stuff after that under a different name? Is there any kind of cycle to that?
Sometimes it's usually mostly like the head of a studio
IT Trey
would
has
go and
joined
do
the
Mhm.
something like that,
space.
not just like any one of the developers. Sometimes it happens, not very often.
Because if they enjoyed working together and they made something amazing, especially if they were thinking of making a sequel to that amazing thing or doing some other variation on it, because like I don't know if the Hi-Fi Rush team, like if they decided to, if they were like already working on the mock-ups and everything for what Hi-Fi Rush 2 would look like, then and they were having so much fun with it because it looked like it was just a party of a game to put together, so to speak, anyway.
Yeah, no, they're probably not going to, mainly because it takes a lot of money
Yeah,
and they're just employees. They don't actually
yeah.
have that kind
Maxim
of
has
money.
joined the space.
You need
What
business
what I
folks to put
what
together
I've
a
seen
team.
happening is like these other developers, development studios are like, "Hey, we're looking for these kind of people. We know there's a lot of fresh talent out there now. You want to come work for us?" That's
Do you
what's been
happen to have
happening.
any mock-ups, JKJK, unless? Yeah. if
Yeah,
you were to
Friend
work
fucking
Fred has
gaming.
joined the space.
if you were to work in the gaming industry, like what area of
I
it would you
want
want
it.
to try?
I want.
You would
I.
okay, that's
I do not want to work. That is what I wanted to do when I was very young. I would never want to enter that industry.
holy shit. Is it because it's like
Like
often abused,
maybe
or is it
like
just because it's not
if
your
if I'm
vibe?
like a video editor helping with like promotional material, maybe, but I wouldn't call that working in games.
Sure, yeah. You'd be working. Well, I
Because
mean,
I
at
would.
that point, you'd be working with a marketing agency, probably.
Yeah, so it's like I wouldn't want to work in gaming because it's just very clearly that's a very volatile environment. The only way I would want to work in gaming is if I could actually legitimately just work at Nintendo because they're the only ones that like repeatedly time and time again say that they're all about making sure that their employees aren't scared for their livelihoods all of the time.
Wait, hold on. Employees of a giant entertainment or tech company not being scared of their lives? Say it ain't so, Ashley.
No, that's one of the big things Satoru Iwata was about when Nintendo was going through rough periods because he was president of Nintendo and he was just like, "Well, we're going through a rough period. We could just fire a bunch of people, but that would one mean we have less people to make good games to make more money with, and two, everyone who isn't fired is now scared they're going to be fired, so are they really putting in their best work while they're all scared as shit?" So I'm just gonna take huge repeated bumps down in my paycheck, which is like you would never hear Phil Spencer doing that. You would never hear anyone else doing that. So that's why like Nintendo sets a precedent of like we actually want to like promote creativity,
Yeah, and yeah,
which I know with their Mario games you might not believe there's any creativity left, but
okay, it's weird that you say that once. Like, is Super Mario Wonder already out, or is that still an upcoming title?
yeah, that's been. I mean, they've been better recently, but for like a decade there, it was pretty bad.
Yeah, I got because I think of how like American entertainment and tech companies tend to work, and I like in all these like short-sighted decisions that are just made for a quick buck that fuck over a whole lot of really good like reliable creative people. And I just wonder how have these industries, at least the bigger like big money portion of them, how do they not just crumble past a certain point? And if not, and if they are going to, how
Well,
long
I think we're
until?
getting to that certain point in the near
Yeah.
future.
Like what kind of like do they have just in? Because okay, I feel like this should be obvious, but if you keep those people on, then not only like you'll maybe make a little less money in the short term, but these reliable people will make a more reliable and awesome product. And if they're put in a secure environment where they don't feel like they have to fear for everything, they'll be more inspired and more productive and be loyal to your company and keep being there making cool shit or at least recommending other people to make cool shit for it. And then you have consistent cash money as long as you have the fucking business people to organize everything, as long as you have a good marketing strategies like they'd already try to have with the decisions they're actually making.
It,
I
it
feel like
it
past a certain
always
point there's
brings me
something I'm
back.
missing.
It always brings me back to the like idea of enshittification, especially through the lens of capitalism, because the point of a company is to continuously make more money all of the time. That it has to keep getting bigger, else that company is failing in the eyes of the economy. And so at a certain point, you reach your kind of limit of how much quality you can give your customer versus how much you're spending. And so, like, oh, we're kind of hitting this roof. How do we make more money? Oh, we just make everything worse, but charge the same amount of money for it. And that's kind of how it feels like the big games industry is going. It's like, oh, we're gonna still charge. We're actually charging you more now. Most games are now 20 extra bucks more on top of what you've been paying, and they're usually worse than what you've been paying in decades ago, even. So
But like, what's the incentive for enshittification? It seems like there was some kind of
because it
like,
ends up you do make more money because people still end up buying it for a little
oh,
while.
I see. Like, do you mean like you mean cheaper work
I mean,
goes
how many
into it, is
people
what you're
bought the
saying?
new fucking Call of Duty when probably barely anything went into that game?
Yeah,
In
the part.
comparison to, let's say, the original Modern Warfare, where they had to make a new game up from scratch. Most of the stuff in what is it? Modern Warfare 3 is the newest one now. It's very much reused assets. Some of the game mechanics are a little bit different, but on the whole, you're downloading the same exact file as Modern Warfare 2. you know,
Like,
but you paid
yeah,
$80 for it this time.
the part that confused me was not the hiking up the price. That was expectable. But the the shittier product part is like it didn't make sense until I thought, oh, of course, it takes like less money and time to make a shittier product. Usually,
Yeah,
like it's you cut corners for it to be shittier, you charge more for it to, and then it's just, oh, it's the next game in that franchise that you like, so you're getting this or nothing, pay up or don't, you know,
and I mean,
which
this goes much further than just games. Obviously, I think it was originally coined for like everyday items like clothes, food, everything
mhm.
like that, because the clothes still cost the same, if not more. But how many times are you having to replace your pants a year now because they just fucking fall apart?
Yeah.
I mean, everybody wants older cars now, not because they're nostalgic or they're vintage now. It's they run better for longer.
And I'm sure all of this roots back to capitalism in some way, of course.
Yes,
Yeah,
because that
this
is
is
the end goal of capitalism is to make as much money as physically possible without any kind of regard for anything else. That is the goal. Is you make
mhm.
all of the money and that's how you win, and that's why it's a shit system because that doesn't work.
Well, welcome to being born in or before the 21st century, like just before the 21st century, where this just happens, and I want to know what you think. So, okay, you can go into the political side of this if you want, but I'm primarily asking for the art and media aspect of it. Where do you think it goes once? Well, I mean, it fucking goes off the edge of a cliff because people can't keep, buying into that kind of system forever. Of course, they can't just do that forever.
Well, yeah, I mean that's why the biggest games companies are actually backed by not gaming companies, like Microsoft, Sony. They're not explicitly gaming. Sony's a little bit more entertainment focused than Microsoft is, but and at the end of the day, if there's anything that's going to survive in a capitalistic system, it is going to be the arts because the human creation is just a part of us.
Hmm.
So it's like there's going to be somebody doing something on some level all the time, and that's why recently there was this Steam sale for Triple I, which is just a bunch of really good indie games because people
Hmm.
care a lot more about the indie games coming out now than the AAA games because half of the AAA games are kind of shit.
Yeah, I was literally just gonna say that, like,
Watson has joined
if
the
if you
space.
want to know what you can do to help improve this system and to stop these people from getting fucked over, especially if any of them are staying in any portion of the games industry, the people who just got laid off from all these companies, then yeah, support your friendly neighborhood indie games. I mean,
And
what are a
vote.
handful of, yes,
That's what you
vote,
should do.
please fucking vote.
Vote for a
Yeah.
better system. Vote for whoever you can that's trying to get a better system.
Yes. And vote and speak with your fucking wallet. I know boycotts are a term that have been is that's been annoying a lot of people, and it's a cumbersome thing. If you do a lot of it, you have to keep track of it, you have to keep it organized, but it's like speaking with your wallet works. It's like I know it's not going to happen, but if like we all stopped buying either Microsoft or Apple or Nintendo or Sony, if we stopped putting money into it, if we stopped giving them our, Microsoft 365 or whatever, PlayStation Pass or buying the games, all of it, yeah, they'd have to fucking change in some way. They'd have to change their practices, and they'd have to make I mean they'd have to make better stuff, and they need good people to make better stuff. But in the immediate time frame, I want to know, Ashley, if you had to like ballpark a top 5 or 10, or as many as you want, really, if you're just filling to the brim with them. What are some of your curated indie games that you always come back to and love?
Oh Lord, let me look at my Steam library.
Yeah,
Let me
take
just
a good gander.
tag out everything that's indie.
Is there
If
just a
you
tick
if
for that?
Yeah, you can just it goes off for all of the Steam shop tags, the Steam stores
Oh, damn,
tags.
fun.
Um, if you liked old Sonic games where you just kind of wanted to perfect going really fast, Action Henk, Henk, amazing little quickly get in, do some of your levels, get out, or if you just want to play for a very long time, do that. It's very much a speedrunner kind of game. Absolutely love it. It's old too. It's fucking great. I wonder what these developers have done recently, or if they've been bought out and liquidated. Um, let's see, what else do we have? There's so many. God, half of my Steam library is indie games. Fuck yeah, let's go.
Yeah, half of like I am listening to you, though I am also using this time to go like, wait, let me try and form a list in my head as to all the good indie games I know. And like some of the ones I'm thinking of are like Hotline Miami, where like, oh, everybody, Hotline Miami is an indie game, right? I think it is.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Hotline Miami is one that it's obviously on the list of like that's on the Super Meat Boy rankings, Binding of Isaac kind of shit where it's like everybody knows that one. Um,
if you like the
but
old
yeah.
Paper Mario games, Bug Fables, very much inspired by the old Paper Mario games. Absolutely lovely game.
Mm,
If you
yeah,
like
there.
precision platformers, Celeste, but if you like precision platformers and haven't heard of Celeste, what the fuck? One of the best ones ever made. Let's
Yeah,
see, what else do I have?
there's a small handful that I've played. I remember Gunpoint is a really I thought I wasn't going to be able to think of story-based ones because most of the games that I spend any real time with, especially indie ones, are like, you don't think about it too much aside from the reflexes and the bare functions of it, like just arcade games. But Gunpoint has a thrilling story, if I'm thinking of the right one. It's the one where you're hacking into buildings and wiring certain things. It's of
Do you
course
have the
not Watch
Super
Dogs.
Pants?
Huh?
The Super Pants?
Oh, okay. I thought you meant a game called the Super Pants. It's like it's a noir
No,
detective
you
thing. I'm
you
sure he
have
has
Super
super.
Pants.
Right, he does a big jump thing. I almost forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's the
and you
very
go
beginning of the
in.
game where it's just like, oh yay, I got my delivery of Super Pants, and he flings himself out of a fucking window.
It's been a while since I've since I've played it, but no,
Gunpoint is one of my
Gunpoint.
favorite games of all time. It's fucking great.
It's an incredible. Here's the thing.
Bob
I
Works has
haven't
joined
beaten
the
the game, and
space.
I would want to beat the game before I do any of the workshop stuff because it does have workshop support, if I remember correctly. But it's also like every indie game that has workshop support seems like it makes levels based on if you have every single one of the functions. Which I get it. You would do it after beating the game, but it's also games are hard, and also and also like I want to explore people's creativity, but like I feel like for half of these I just have to watch somebody who knows better how to play use it because I can get by in a lot of these, but not much better than that. Yeah.
If you want a kind of more narrative experience
Hmm.
specifically than gaming, like mechanics and like precision and everything, Firewatch is an amazing narrative game.
I've heard of
Can't say
that
too
Raffle
much
has
one.
about
joined
it
the
without
space.
spoiling it, so just go play Firewatch.
Yeah.
um
Another.
this unknown one, Five Nights at Freddy's.
Is that still indie? I actually did. Well, the original ones, of course, were, but like,
I
are the
mean,
later
they're
ones
not owned
indie?
by like a big studio.
I mean, if you say so, I believe you. Um, Oh, there was one that was just in my head. Oh, a really cute one that okay, so there's a really cute indie game that doesn't match the tone of any fucking AAA game I've ever heard of, and it's got this wholesome feel to it, and it like has stuff to do, but if you just want to go around in the environment and have a peaceful time and just like take a little mental health day and just see something so little nice and a little cute. It's perfect for that. It's called a short hike. Many of you might have heard of it. It's and it does have you have to be a little clunky with it, but there is a multiplayer mode if you want to play with some friends. But there's so many little activities, like you can use a stick to play some tennis of a variety. You can go for a run with some of the NPCs. You could do some gliding. You collect feathers. That's a really nice one. It's got a really good aesthetic as well. Um,
Another kind of
yeah.
retro style aesthetic game is Frog Gun, and that's just 1G, Frog Un. Um, it's kind of like a puzzle platformer type thing. Very cute, very fun. Go play that. Faster Than Light, another old indie sweetheart. Um, you kind of manage your own ship as you're fleeing an enemy fleet, trying to get the message that they're coming to your home fleet.
Yeah,
Another one that if you're into maybe a little bit of masochism because it's so difficult is Fury, Furi. It is a like bullet hell hack and slash type game. I'm not 100% sure how to say what it is, but it's fucking great.
yeah,
You have any
there
other
was
ones?
there's one I have a handful of others. There's one that I haven't played in a while. I just know that it's definitely fun, and I feel like it'd be more fun with co-op. I just never I past when I first like the months when I first played it, I never really tried co-op with it. But it's in the vein of having like lots of gun violence, but in a fun arcade way
Strange
and
Red has joined the
in a
space.
retro style. Broforce is a really good one that has a lot of like like a lot of copyright safe parodies of classic action heroes from a bunch of stuff, and like it has back to the classics like Predator and Rambo and stuff like that. But also more recent ones. They have Bro Wick is the name for the John Wick, and there I think everything is a variation of the word bro in terms of the characters. But yeah, they have John Wick in
Yeah, there's
there,
like
and
Brogiver or
yeah, Bro
McBrover.
Guyver. I think there's one for like Ripley from the Alien series in there as well, which is really cool. Um, and a couple of ones that are not even close to a narrative game, but I like to play them as a. I mean, I'm autistic. I usually need to stim when I'm talking to people, especially for an extended period of time and thinking about in-depth things. I two games that I have played very consistently, one much more than the other, and you're going to remember at least one of these. I'm going to start with the lesser one though. In terms of my playtime, Geometry Wars has been a very good one. Geometry Wars Retro Evolved is the one that I have taken the most fancy to, but there's like a 3D one that's got some cute shit to it as well. But I'd probably just revert back to the original. My only gripe with it is that that is the game where and you have never heard of this happening, but it happened with me almost every time I tried to play it for a longer session, and maybe it's happened to someone else here. I wore down the rubber of the thumbsticks playing Retro Evolved, just because I was flicking them around so much. I guess my palms were getting sweaty enough, and it just happened. Yeah, but it's a very fast-paced game, and it's just classic arcade style. It's a little bit resembling of like a Galaga. Um, and the second one, which I played this fucking yesterday and the day before that and the day before that. It's a great little fidget game that has extremely simple controls. You just have to memorize what things to do what things to do they like the order of left and right clicking with as they come from either side in this beautiful action game. One Finger Death Punch 2. And the first one is still great. It's just they improved on literally every part of what made the first game awesome for the second game, and it looks prettier and doesn't run much worse. And so yeah, you've seen you've seen my yearly recap for my One Finger Death Punch
Yeah.
franchise playtime across the year. It is just a stellar game for somebody who likes action environments but needs a simplistic kind of layout to consistently play a video game. And it's something that's like yeah, something where like the biggest barrier to it, to getting like really good at it, is just how fast your reflexes are at clicking, and just something to stim with. And I have so much endless love for that game. Mr. Shifty as well is another really good one, and we've mentioned Hotline Miami. Those are also great for action environments. Mr. Shifty, I have always loved because it's essentially a Nightcrawler video game. If you're an X-Men fan, it's if you've ever wanted to like replicate that scene, just not in the White House, but but in the opening scene of X-Men 2, from back in the early 2000s, if you wanted to replicate that in a video game, it'd be really hard to get closer than with Mr. Shifty. And there's also, what is it? The Outer Wilds, I hear, is usually is pretty good, and that's a game about,
Yeah.
what's the word? There's a word called, is it entropy? I think the word is entropy. I keep forgetting it. But yeah, it's a really good game about wholesome entropy. And I would think, depending on how far you are through this kind of process in real life, but I think to have something with a wholesome and like hug of a tone that like kind of meets you there with a melancholy theme, like if you're grieving or something, I think is a good environment to play something like Outer Wilds in, if you haven't already heard of it, which probably more or less everybody here probably already would have. But yeah, I've barely played any of that, but it's but I everything I've seen of it I love so much, and it's such a clever game. Yeah, we could go on forever about indie games that we love, but do you have any more?
If you like roguelike dungeon crawlers, obviously Hades, one of the best games when it came out. Hades 2 early access just came out. So if you're looking for more Hades, go get that. It's great. Um, I also have, if you liked old 3D platformers like Mario Sunshine, like Banjo Kazooie, stuff like that. A Hat in Time is the indie platformer darling of its time quite a few years ago. God, that game's old now. I don't like that. Um, but it's absolutely fucking great. Its aesthetics and tone are absolutely on point. Let's see, what else do
Oh,
I have? Hmm.
here's a good couch play one that I think it has Steam Remote Play as well if you want to go through it with a buddy. Like, cause yeah, you should be able to play it online with remote play. But anyway, it's intended as like you're sitting on a couch with another person playing it. I did with my buddy, and it's called Lovers in a Dangerous Space Time. And I remember hearing about it back on this old talk show in Canada called Inner Space. They used to have them, but no, it's where you're in this spherical ship. I'm pretty sure the whole time it's not spherical, circular, because it's a 2D platformer-ish. Like inside the ship, it works like a platformer. I would dare say. But yeah, you're hopping through and climbing like the different levels of it. You see the whole cross section of the ship at once. You're going between the different floors and doing different functions. The more people you have on deck. I don't remember the maximum amount of players, but I do think it's more than two. Uh, then you delegate people to certain functions depending on the side of the ship you're being attacked from, or what kind of navigation you need to do. And it's got such a gorgeous art style. Yeah, if you're like looking for an inventive experience in couch shared gaming with like a room full of people, maybe who don't even like, maybe who need like a rudimentary game experience where you need to learn stuff but not that much, and you just like it's more about working together on what you're looking at, a little bit like a moving tabletop game, I'd almost say. Lovers in a Dangerous Space Time is exceptional for that. Yeah.
If you want a rhythm game that isn't like your standard hit the beats as they come, Just Shapes and Beats is an amazing bullet hell rhythm game. Not much more to say about it, but absolutely love it. Played so many hours of that. I almost have 30 hours in that game. Fucking great.
Oh, and a good rhythm game that is just you hit stuff to the beat, but in different ways is Asu, which the exclamation mark at the end is in fact part of the title. And if you happen to have like a drawing tablet or display, that's a really fun use for it. For if you're not make if you don't like make if you like making any art at the current moment and you want something other fun to do with that nifty device, and it's probably on mobile too. I've just never checked. Yeah, and
I have
lots of custom
never.
songs in the community. Yeah.
Want a good sneak around game? Mark of the Ninja. It also has a remastered version. Fucking great stealth games. Go play them, please.
another good
Uh,
another good multiplayer action based one, and we played this one together. Nidhogg, Nidhogg. It it's got, I don't know if you would call it a retro-esque game or if it's just a low pixel count, because everything with a low pixel count I tend to associate with that. But yeah, it's a simplistic, just like it's a at its baseline it's a sword fighting game, but you can also punch the shit out of each other. If you lose your swords, you can throw your swords. You just have to get to the other side before the other person does. And you don't have to kill the other person to do it if you're really good at dodging and just getting to your own goal, but you are supposed to kill each other. Yeah, and there's some fun cartoony effects in that.
if you're into less demanding games and you just want to have a stupid, silly time with your friends, the Monster Prom series, fucking amazing series. I think they just teased a new one where they're going to like a convention instead of prom because they had Monster Prom, Monster Road Trip, Monster Camp, and so then there's Monster Convention.
uh
And
let's see
the
the
game's all about trying to get with the monster you like the most. I don't know. I never actually like play it seriously. It's always just see what ridiculous bullshit happens.
Yeah, another one that you might start to see a pattern with some of the ones, especially from like a certain era of indie gaming that I went through, because it's fun to see some stick figure violence, and if you want a variety of that that you share with your friends, Stick Fight the Game. It's a nice simple weapons drop in. And it's got some fun physics to it, and it's more or less ragdoll, but at the very edge of what I'd consider ragdoll. And it's yeah, that one's a really fun experience, especially with playing around with physics. Yeah,
The Poker Nights at the Inventory games, fucking
those
great.
are fucking
Um,
indie. That's masterclass.
they are exclusively like other than if you want to call Valve like TF2 era not indie. I would still call them indie at that point in their life. But
I would trust you on that. It's just I anything that looks sufficiently big budget, I tend
that
to
was
assume isn't
Telltale.
indie.
Telltale made those.
Yeah. Speaking of which, wait. So would you consider Telltale, like would you consider The Walking Dead season 1 to be an indie game? Because I'd recommend that.
Yeah, it's a licensed game. Whether or not you want, it's made by an indie developer, so
You know what? Whether it's a
there's
fucking indie
layers
game or
to
not,
it.
play it. It's good.
Yeah,
How
play
about that?
season one and none of the others. It's not
You
worth
don't
it.
really need to. You're good. Just it's a good story. Drop it. Yeah.
What
Yeah.
else do I have in here? I'm just
I
like
haven't
scrolling
played a
through all
lot
my
of
shit.
relaxing indie games, a lot of just fun ones. I'm only now realizing most of them have been about some kind of cartoonish fun. But also, you mentioned TF2 era Valve. TF2, if you're counting that, is another really good indie game. I haven't played it in maybe upwards of 10 years, and I don't really think I would, but that's just because I've gotten my own mileage out of it. And if you haven't discovered it yet for whatever reason, just like I haven't watched The Godfather yet, then absolutely give it a shot. It's really fun, and it's got some inventive. It's got, oh my god, this soundtrack is so fun. You don't need to play the game, of course, to experience that, but experiencing it with the vibe of the game is just next level. And the voice acting in it is superb. The animations, the art style, and of course, it's a bloody good time.
If you like solving mysteries with fairly little hand holding in your games, because I know a lot of mystery games hold your hand pretty tightly. This one does not. Return of the Obra Dinn. You're trying to figure out what killed all of the crew on an abandoned ship. And doing that, you have this watch that lets you see the final moments of everyone's lives, but you only get like the briefest glimpse. So you still have to
Just
put
with
a
that
lot
last
together.
part, I think I've heard of that game. I just didn't catch
It
on
was
until that
huge when
very
it
last
came out.
piece. Yeah, that might have been one of the ones that I heard of because just Nerd Cubed covered it. Which you might notice a
He
pattern
did.
with some of my recommendations in that vein because I
Yeah,
watched him
he
religiously
played
back
all
in the
of
day.
them.
Yeah, I know about half of these because he play. I think Broforce I found out about from like Jacksepticeye back in the day. But yeah, what am yeah.
All of the
If you wanna keep
Shantae games, amazingly beautifully crafted Metroidvanias. And I
yeah.
love that the only reason that they're not E for everybody is that the studio way forward is like, we're not putting Shantae in more clothes. She's gonna have her tits out. And that's fucking great. Love it.
In terms of, I'm upwards of 85% sure that these are indie games. Into VR territory, is I mean a couple that I play pretty
I would
often.
say most of the best VR experiences are indie. I don't know of a single AAA game that I would recommend to anyone in the
Well,
VR space.
because it's like I assume for most of the ones that I know that they're indie, but I also know that I'm not like an authority on what's indie and what's not. And so I guess if someone wants to correct me, I can go back on this. But a few that I play really often, and are supremely fun are Pavlov. If you like Counter Strike, Pavlov is Counter Strike, just translated very well to VR. Blade and Sorcery is a great physics-based fighting one. Though if you haven't been playing VR very long, it might be a very weird experience for you because it's not like super realistic, but it's close enough to freak you out if you haven't been used to VR for much. It's and um, it's both of those are really good calorie burners. And a last one, because I haven't said a peaceful one in forever, aside from Lovers in a Dangerous Space Time, but still. Vermilion is barely a game, I would say, but I would call it in the same genre as a game. It's a tool, but it feels like a game to me, at least. It feels like the same kind of environment as a game. Vermilion is just a painting app. It's realistic painting in VR. It's available for both. All of these are available both on the Quest and uh, and on Steam VR, and probably on the Oculus Store on PC as well. I just haven't checked that in a while. And in the same vein as art, Virtuoso is so fucking good for music production, and it makes it so fun and accessible and intuitive. You know.
Yeah.
And do you have any others?
I don't really have anything in VR because obviously I'm not even in VR right now. But
Oh yeah, no, not obligating VR at all. I just wanted to shove those out
Shovel
because I
Knight,
play them.
anything made by
Yeah,
Yacht Club Games is fucking
yeah.
top notch. They
I've heard a
really do
lot of
it
good about Shovel
differently.
Knight.
If you like 2D fighting games, Skullgirls is really fucking fun to play. Um, let's see, Slay the Spire, a roguelike deck builder game.
Oh,
Um, Snake Pass, if you like the aesthetics of Banjo Kazooie but want a weird control scheme where you slither around like a snake, Snake Pass, that's your game. I'm just trying to get through them because I know we're coming up to our time, and I'm
uh,
only in the S's of my
I
list, and there's so many
I
of them.
have two. I have two that are very nice. One of them is actually a weirdly short experience for the compelling storytelling that it is. Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. It actually just got a remaster, but I've heard it has mixed reviews, and you do have to pay full price again. You could just get the original, and it's an incredible experience. Though it is intended to be played multiplayer, both people on one controller. It's not as clunky as it sounds. And the second of the two, Wreckfest. It's a realistic physics racing game that, like, some of it just leans into the car wreck aspect of it, but it's like, oh, you're going around with like realistic breakable car physics as you're racing other cars. It is as hectic as it sounds, but you can also just play it straight and just try your best to get to the end of the finish line as many times as you can. Yeah.
Spelunky 1 and 2, 2D roguelike platformers. Um, let's see, Spiritfarer, a game that if you play through it, you will cry multiple times. It's a 2D platformer about helping spirits move on into the next realm. Let's see, what else do we have? One
Vector
that's really
isn't like
simple.
Vector isn't like super incredible, but it does look fun and feel cool, and it doesn't have much replay. It's not a shitty game. It's just it's one that doesn't have much replay value, and it's very simplistic. I think it was made as a demo for a console that failed, but it's a fun experience, and I like the aesthetic, so I want to throw out a mention to Vector. It's definitely worth playing at least once. Yeah.
Splitgate. It's Halo with portals. They're teasing a second one. Um, there's Spirit Sphere, which is air hockey but with fantasy vibes.
When
Um,
when you said Halo with portals, I thought you meant Half-Life with portals, and I'm like, Ashley, I had to break it to you. There's another game that matches that kind of.
no, Halo with portals.
Yeah, yeah,
Splitgate's
yeah,
fucking awesome. I played the
mhm.
shit out of it until Halo came out. Um,
Yeah.
obviously,
Oh,
no list of indie games is complete without Stardew Valley.
of
Farm
course.
Sim, if you don't know about it somehow.
Pal World,
Um,
another one.
if you like
We mentioned that
2D
earlier.
stealth puzzle platformers, Stealth Bastard Deluxe and Stealth Inc. 2, phenomenal games. I'm so mad that they got an actual like physical release for the second game, not because like oh they shouldn't have it, but because that made it so they couldn't call it Stealth Bastard anymore. Because the first one
Oh,
is Stealth Bastard Deluxe, and then it's Stealth Inc.
that's kind
Sucks,
of like
but
when
I get
Jackass
it.
wanted to name themselves asshole, but but fucking movie theaters wouldn't let them release, or was that a TV or
IT
movie,
Trey
whichever
has
they did
joined the
first, wouldn't let them
space.
release it under that name. So Jackass was the closest they could get. Yeah.
Uh, obviously, super hot and all of its
How the,
permutations.
how the fuck did I forget Super Hot? That is such a good one. Oh yeah, Beat Saber as well. Okay, I don't know if Beat Saber because I think that one got acquired by somebody.
I have no
I
idea.
it, I think Beat Saber might have been acquired by Meta, if I'm not mistaken.
That's
So
crazy. It
if
might
I
have.
am wrong, and if I am wrong, or if it got something or othered, Beat Saber is another good one. Plenty of people like that. It's a rhythm game. It's slicing. Oh my God, are you going to rip through calories like a wood chipper? Um, though you will with most VR games. Like I think Vermilion is the only one that I mentioned that you wouldn't really do that with. Yeah, in terms of VR ones. Yeah. Yeah.
Let's
Indie games
see.
are fucking
What
awesome.
else do I
I'm gonna
have?
let you take away the rest of them, and then we can do an outro.
I'm like getting to the end of my list of ones that I wanna
I'm sure there's ones I'm gonna be smacking my head
specifically
on
name.
on a fucking counter about later.
There's a lot that I
Um,
haven't mentioned that I wish I could and had the time to.
we
Like
could just
go
give
back
a
and
part
play
two to this
Tory
segment.
Bash.
Yeah,
Go play Tory, but Tory Bash is fucking great.
I love watching people
Um,
play Tora Bash. I would bash my head up against something playing Tora Bash though. It's the God.
see, Turbo Dismount. If you were on YouTube when it came out, you know of this game. It's the
You
one
know that
where
game.
you just slam people into walls. It's
Yeah.
great.
If you know if you already know Turbo Dismount, you knew Bro Force before I said it. I think
Yeah.
that's fair to say. Maybe even one Figure Death Punch too, or at least the first
If you
game.
want
Yeah.
a very like it's a horror game that gets atmosphere just right in my opinion. Stories Untold. Phenomenal game. I don't want to spoil anything about it. Go play it. Squishy the Suicidal Pig.
We just need like
I
yeah.
mhm.
No, go
Yeah, I
ahead.
like how you weren't even going to ask me about the title of Squishy the Suicidal Pig.
I
You're just going to move
listen
on
with
from
Frog
that.
Gun. I it's just no. I if you want to explain it, you can. I mean, we got a little time, but
It's a 2D puzzle platformer where you have to figure out how to kill yourself so you can get into heaven.
don't kill yourself. I feel like Banter is going to obligate us to say, despite the fact that this game does not encourage it. I hope. But yeah,
No, it's like I think the story is that like the pig you play as was just like fucking shitty and so ended up in hell. And the devil, the pig devil, is just like, well, I'm a little bored, so if you could figure out how to kill yourself 100 times, and I'll put you in heaven. And I don't think he ends up actually doing that.
Speaking of indie games that make you think about killing yourself, and also stuff that was popular on YouTube in the early mid 2010s, Surgeon Simulator 2013 was still a really fucking good game, despite being a rage game, and I had so much fun with it, racing my friends. It's not a multiplayer game, but like if you have somebody on like a Discord call or something, then racing the two people timing each other as to like how fast you can get surgeries done in such a clunky atmosphere is really fun. We need to just
While
have
it's
a
not just
consistent segment every
one,
now and then,
while it's not
where we
just
just
one
recommend our favorite
game,
shit.
almost anything made by Stain Studios. Ugh, I can't even speak now.
That
Coffee
sounds
Stain
familiar.
Studios. Buy anything except for Goat Sim. I have a vendetta against Goat Sim.
I used to love that game, and I'm not going to revisit it. I want to have the couple of fun memories of it. I want to retain those. Yeah.
Other than Goat Sim, they made games like Valheim. They made The Satisfactory. They made Deep Rock Galactic. They make fucking amazing games except for Goat Sim.
Prison Architect. That's another one
It's
that
another
this
great one.
general era is reminding me of. What?
It's a great one. I
Yeah,
was gonna talk
I
about
thought
it
you were gonna say
earlier,
that's not
but I was
indie.
just like, eh.
Yeah,
But
Prison
it's a
Architect,
great
and
game.
did you say Factorio?
I do not think I mentioned Factorio.
Yeah, Prison Architect and Factorio. If you're into like complicated tycoon games, I think they're both. No, they're not tycoon games. Prison, well, Factorio would be, but Prison Architect, I don't think so. Um,
Well,
unless
you want to
no,
build the best prison.
I'm thinking of two separate games and thinking of them as one. The other game that I'm thinking of is also a good indie game that you should play that I looped it in with by accident. It's called The Escapists, which is not it is not a tycoon game, but it requires a lot of thinky and stinky.
Anyway, that's our
Ooh,
show. Go
Cyrus
play
has
indie
joined the
games.
stage.
Yeah, support indie developers. Have a lovely time.
Is
Yeah,
the stream over? Are we just sitting in
are we
silence?
done?